Shiur is dedicated to Nishmas Rachaleah Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi. What we'll do in today's shiur is we'll wrap up the Melacha of Dosh. We'll discuss in particular the halachos of squeezing fruits, and then we'll touch up. We'll involve ourselves in the question of whether you're allowed to make ice on Shabbos, which, as we'll see, is very much related to the Melacha of Dosh. So we left off in the last shiur discussing the halacha of squeezing fruit on Shabbos, schitas peros. We pointed out that the Gemara. The Mishnah actually in Melacha of SHabbat and Daf Kuf Mem Gimel tells us that there is a prohibition of schitas peros. You're not allowed to squeeze peros. And the Gemara in Daf Kuf Mem Hemer Aleph in Melacha of SHabbat tells us that there are different levels of fruit when it comes to this isser. On a doraisa level, the Gemara says, Dvar Torah, one is not allowed to squeeze grapes and olives, zeisim va'anavim, for the wine and the olive oil respectively. This is going to be an isser doraisa. The Gemara says it as follows, Dvar Torah, Minan Torah, we're only chayav for zeisim va'anavim. Then the Gemara suggests that there is a tier 2. If you're not grapes and you're not olives, but you can still have a tier 2 isser, and this is going to be an isser dirabanan, what the Gemara describes as tutim v'rimonim. If a person goes ahead and squeezes strawberries or rimonim pomegranates for the juice, that's going to be an isser dirabanan. Why? So the Rishonim explained, because these are fruit that are normally squeezed, and not normally, but sometimes squeezed for their juice, not always, usually not in fact, but sometimes they're squeezed for their juice, and if we allow you to go ahead and squeeze these tutim v'rimonim, so then you might come to squeeze zeisim va'anavim as well. So therefore, gzeira shema yavo, we don't want you to squeeze zeisim va'anavim, so we'll prohibit you also from squeezing other fruit that are ordinarily or sometimes juiced, lest you come to squeeze zeisim va'anavim. This is a classic case of a gzeira shema yavo, and bizman hazeh, many of our fruit will fall into this category, oranges and grapefruits, and we juice almost everything. You can get carrot juice, melon juice, etc. So there's many different things that fall into this category. This is going to be an isser d'Rabbanan. Finally, if you have that which is classified as shar peros, that it is a fruit that is never juiced, it is never squeezed for the juice, so then that's not going to come to, if you juice that for some reason, which a person would never do, but if you did, it's not going to lead to an isser of zeisim va'anavim, squeezing grapes and olives, and therefore that's going to be permissible. This halacha is recorded by the Rambam in Hilchot SHabbat, Perches halacha yud. The Rambam writes as follows. We'll just take a quick look at it. The Rambam says, "Hasochet es peros lahotzi meimehem." If you're doing it for the juice, chayiv mishum mefarek. So this is going to be a tolda of Melacha of Dosh, mefarek schita. Ve'eno chayiv ad sheyeh b'mashkin shesocha kigrogeres. In order to be chayiv, you need to squeeze a shiur, an amount that is a grogeres worth. Ve'en chayiv min Torah el adrichas zeisim ve'anavim bilvad. The Rambam echoes the Gemara. You're only chayiv for zeisim ve'anavim. And then he has a kula. This is what we already discussed in some detail. What the Gemara tells us in Daf Kuf Mem Daled is, even if you take zeisim va'anavim, even if you take a grape and you squeeze it and the juice emerges into a solid, if you squeeze a grape into ochel, that is going to be permissible. When is it also to squeeze even grapes or olive? That's only if you do so into a liquid or into an empty dish. Because after all, in such a case, you are extracting a liquid from solid. Now you have a liquid. That exactly is the yisr. But if you go ahead and you squeeze the grape into food, and then the grape juice becomes absorbed into that food, so at the end of the day, what have you accomplished? You squeezed a liquid out of a solid? No, the liquid is still sitting in a solid. It's a different solid, but it's still sitting in a solid. You haven't done the Melacha of Schita, and therefore that's going to be mutter lechatchila. So that's what the Rambam echoes. Why is this permissible? Shamash kabbalah ochel hu. Because when you have liquid that goes into food, it's called food, and therefore you're just being mafarek ochel me ochel. Aval im sochat lekli she'ein ba'ochel. If you do schita, squeeze it into a kli that does not have food in it, harei zeh dorech v'chayev. In such a situation, you're going to be violating Issa Dorais, and the Rambam echoes, as we mentioned in prior shiurim, that the same would apply when it comes to chaliva, when it comes to milking a cow. Here the Rambam in Perches mentions only zeisim va'anavim. This is only mentioning the din Doraisa. You flip over to Perek Chaf Aleph, and here the Rambam, interesting, the Rambam writes the din Doraisa in Perches. 13 prakim later in Perek Chaf Aleph, he starts to get involved in the Isurei D'Rabbanan. The Rambam writes, Kvashim ushlako shesochat. If you take pickles or cooked vegetables which have absorbed a lot of liquid. And if you do so, you squeeze them for the mayim, for the juice. Asr, that's an isser d'Rabbanan. If you squeeze it for a drier pickle, that's going to be mutter lechatchila. We mentioned that in detail in the last year. And then the Rambam continues, and he says, sorry, I read Halach Yud Gimel, I meant to read Halach Yud Beis. He says that schita zeis manavim is doraisa, and aser lischo tutiv rimonim holu mixas bnei adam sochat inosam kazeis manavim. Since some people will squeeze them for the juice, like they do zeis manavim, so it's aser to squeeze tutim rimonim shema yavla skot zeis manavim, because you might come to squeeze zeis manavim. Aval shar peros, but when it comes to other fruit, kagom prishim v'tapuchin, he mentions apples and different kinds of